Hello again in this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. We are going through a meditation given by Padre Larocque with the title L'attacco sottile e potente all'Eucaristia. So he continues here. He says, Christ therefore cannot be present in this sacrament except by the change into his body of the reality itself of the bread, and the change into his blood of the reality itself of the wine, leaving unchanged only the properties of bread and wine which our senses perceive. This mysterious change is called by the Church, very appropriately, transubstantiation. Every theological explanation which might try to penetrate in some way this mystery, to be in accord with Catholic faith, must firmly maintain that in the objective reality, independently of our spirit or mind, the bread and wine have ceased to exist after the consecration, so that from that moment on they are the adorable body and blood of the Lord Jesus, to be really before us under the sacramental species of bread and wine. This is quoted from Denzinger and so on. Just like the Lord wanted to give himself to us as food and to associate with us the unity of his mystical body, as St. Thomas Aquinas says in the Summa Theologica. The unique and indivisible existence of the glorious Lord in the heaven is not multiplied, but is rendered present by the sacrament in the many places on earth where Mass is celebrated. After the sacrifice, this existence remains present in the Blessed Sacrament, which is, in the tabernacle, the living heart of each of our churches, and it is for us a very sweet duty to honor and adore in the blessed hosts, which our eyes see, the incarnate Word, which they cannot see, and that without leaving heaven is made present before us. Now he begins another topic of his meditation about the tabernacle. So he continues here. There are some points here that I must underscore. Pope Paul VI wrote, the tabernacle is the living heart of each of our churches. How much it hurts, then, this widespread custom today to put our Eucharistic Jesus no longer even in a corner of the church, but even more, to put him outside of his church in a chapel of adoration, with the excuse to protect and worship him better. It is not true. For me, this custom, which we do not know where it comes from, this custom to put Jesus on the side, is the mystery of the Antichrist to want Jesus outside of his church, to put oneself in his place. You cannot enter certain churches without having this very bad impression. They took away Jesus in order to put man in his place. And in fact, while the tabernacle is nowhere to be found in the church, because it is in a chapel at the entrance of the church, almost outside of his church, we see instead the seat of the celebrant as a marble throne, high up on a solid foundation, as if to say, now man reigns in the church, and the stone base, that is, the tabernacle, was rejected by the builders. The one finds the temple of God empty of God himself. Once I even entered a church empty of his tabernacle, seeking to find it. I entered the sacristy, and there at the end of the room where it was written, exit, I finally found the little chapel of the Blessed Sacrament. For me, it was all a symbol to tell me, they have put you out of the church, O Jesus. I had to meet with the Archbishop of the city, and I was not able to not talk to him about this custom in the church. He replied to me, yes, it is true. I do not even understand this fashion myself, which goes against the provisions of the Eucharistic guidelines of the Church. written in the instruction of the congregation for divine worship and the discipline of sacraments, Redemptionis Sacramentum, on March 25th, 2004. Then I went to check, and in fact, it was written in this way, exactly this. It was written like this in this document of the church. It was written in number 130. In accordance with the structure of each church and legitimate local customs, the most blessed sacrament should be reserved in a tabernacle in a part of the church that is truly noble, prominent, conspicuous, worthily decorated. And not only this, in virtue of the tranquility of the place, of the space before the tabernacle, and of the presence of benches or chairs and pews, suitable for prayer. The tabernacle will be placed in a significant, visible, with ornate decor, suitable for prayer. So not a church where you have to go through the sacristy with the word exit to finally find Jesus in the tabernacle. Our Lady says, and then he quotes Our Lady, Jesus in the Eucharist will once again be the center of your ecclesial gatherings because the church is his temple, his house, which has been built above all that his divine presence may shine forth in your midst. Beloved sons, in these present times the darkness has alas obscured even the tabernacle. Around it there is so much emptiness, so much indifference, so much negligence. Each day doubts, denials, and sacrileges increase. The Eucharistic heart of Jesus is wounded anew by his own, in his own house, in the very place where he has taken up his divine dwelling in your midst. Become again perfect adorers and fervent ministers of Jesus in the Eucharist, who through you makes himself again present, emulates himself anew, and gives himself to souls. Bring everyone to Jesus in the Eucharist by adoration, by communion, and by greater love. That was the message of June 1479. And then another message. Jesus is surrounded today by an emptiness which has been brought about especially by you priests who, in your apostolic activity, often go about uselessly and very much on the periphery, going after things which are less important and more secondary, and forgetting that the center of your priestly day should be here before the tabernacle, where Jesus is present and is kept especially for you. He is also surrounded by the indifference of many of my children, who live as if he were not there, and when they enter church for liturgical functions, are not aware of his divine and real presence in your midst. Often Jesus in the Eucharist is placed in some isolated corner, whereas he should be placed in the center of the church, and he should be placed at the center of your ecclesial gatherings, because the church is his temple, which has been built first for him and then for you. What causes deep bitterness to my motherly heart is the way in which Jesus, present in the tabernacle, is treated in many churches, where he is placed in a little corner as though he were some object or other to be made use of for your ecclesial gatherings. This was a message of August 8th, 1986. I'll end here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.